circle of red back and I'm going and leaving tracks in morning. And I don't give a crap whether you stream or you torrent this. You can try to contest, but you'll be needing an army. Beat them in Normandy, current rappers eat to the warning stone.
I have said on this channel time and time again that wrestling is a powerful medium for storytelling. I woke up on Sunday, October the 3rd, to a link, admittedly illegal link, from a follower who says to me, hey, you like storytelling, you talk a lot about characters and motivations and things like this, check this out. And it's a link to the EC3 Fear the Narrative, I believe it's called, event. And so since it was early on a Sunday morning, I decided to sit down and I watched it. And I have to tell you, it is probably the best storytelling device for pro wrestling that I probably have ever seen. Now, as a wrestling event, it doesn't really rank because it's not a lot of wrestling. It's like a documentary. It's like a movie, you know? And it's all built around EC3 and the narrative. It's parts Fight Club, part pro wrestling. It's, a psychological drama. It is all of these wonderful things. And it has great cinematography, a wonderful, unique score. And I found myself immediately kind of engrossed in it. And from the beginning. But I had no idea what it was or what was going on with it. And the email that it came with says, just skip to EC3 versus Adam Scherr, who wrestled as Braun Strowman. So I thought to do that, but then I was like, you know what? Let's just sit and watch the whole thing. I think it was like an hour or so. And I have to tell you, it was completely engrossing. It was. Now, the rest of the card is not relevant, but it builds around the psychological, like it doesn't have commentary. What it has is narration. So it's not telling you what the guys are doing in the ring. It is telling you their motivations, why they're doing this thing, and what they must be thinking in this moment. It is storytelling, right? It is like a visual novel where you're introduced to a character, you get that character's motivations, then the character goes through the crucible, they go through the tough times, and then they come out one way or the other. Either they have achieved what they wanted to achieve, or they have failed. And in some ways, it's a morality tale told through the story of the wrestling match, as you can visually see them making good decisions or bad decisions. Good decisions that further along what they want, bad decisions which take them off the beaten path of what they want. And you can look at that, and I just say to myself, this is tremendous. It is absolutely tremendous. I don't want to go through the whole show. I just want to go through the first match and the last match. So the first match was some guy named Fodder. I have no idea who that is. And a guy named Jake Logan. And the story was about Jake Logan. So it's almost like Pulp Fiction in a way, where you're introduced to two characters and they have different motivations. So Jake Logan, he's getting lectured by EC3. And EC3 asks him, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And the guy says, this is my dream. I've been chasing this for 28 years. This is my dream. This is what I want to do. And EC3 yells at him, says, is your dream to be a pro wrestler? This is kind of a summary. I didn't write down exactly what he said. Or is it, to be on TV? Is your dream to be on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays? Or is your dream to be a wrestler? He said, if your dream is to be on TV, they will give your dream away. They will give your dream to somebody twice your size with half your passion. And Jake is like, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. This is all I've ever wanted to do. And so EC3 puts him in the crucible, which is the ring. It's called the narrative, right? So you're introduced to all of these characters. But the ring itself, the place itself, is a fight club. So there's no crowd. There are like followers. EC3 is like this cult-like figure, an almost god-like figure. That's how he's introduced. That's how he carries through the story. And he finds guys, brings them in, and forces them to prove that this is what they really want. And so through the first match, you see Jake Logan. He's wrestling a guy named Fodder. And they tell you that Fodder is just like an EC3 follower. And, it's not much to him. And you see that Jake Logan is in a submission hold, and Fodder is cheating. There's no rules. There's no pinfalls, no submissions. So there's only, or there's no pinfalls rather, but there's submission, knockout, and there's no referee either. So it's just submission and knockout basically. And so Jake gets into a submission hold, and it's really dramatic. He's like in a single leg Boston Crab, real, not nothing too fancy. And Fodder is pulling onto the rope, so he's adding extra emphasis to it. And the narrator is talking about, kind of like, this is Jake Logan's moment. How badly does he really want it? Look at the pain, look at the frustration. And then Jake Logan taps out to show that he doesn't really want it as badly as he said he did. And then later, they take him out and they throw him into the trash. Like, they take him outside, like out the back of the building, and throw him into the garbage bin. He's just another guy who wants to be famous. Who just, you don't really want to do this. You just want to be famous. You want to be a TV star. And that was the narrative, the story rather, that they set up at the beginning when EC3 asked him, how badly do you really want it? What kind of passion do you really have? And he gave up on himself. So they threw him out. Like, that's the kind of, that's why I say when this thing is largely a lot like Lucha Underground, but it's also its own entity. Like, this is probably the most scripted thing I've ever seen, but it doesn't matter because it's engrossing. It's very good. It is very good. I highly suggest that people pay for it, even though I didn't have to. But the main event is EC3 versus Adam Scherr. Again, Adam Scherr wrestled as Braun Strowman. So earlier in the night, you see Adam, he is sitting at the bar, he's drinking, and he's sad. And EC3 saddles up next to him and says, you were made a monster by your creator, but then you were abandoned. And Adam's drinking, he's down in the dumps. And then EC3 gives him this whole soliloquy about, monsters having emotions. And that, monsters can be people too. And you have to be more than this. Is this all you are? Or is all you are what somebody else made you? And he wants Adam to go through the crucible to test himself, to see if he really is the monster. Or is he something more? And so they set it up this fight scene where it's EC3 versus Adam Scherr. And you're told, through the entire show, that the narrative is self-actualization. That, what you are when you come in is not necessarily what you are when you come out. And that it's a real test of who you are. So they start telling you that Adam Scherr, the monster, comes from the deepest part of his creator's mind. But he is a man. And at the beginning of the whole thing, they're having this conversation, EC3 and Adam. But Adam snaps and he says, everything I've ever worked for was taken away from me. I lost everything. And the last time you were stood across the ring from me, I took everything from you. And I'm going to do it again. And they kind of alluding back to the WWE thing. I believe of Adam injuring EC3 in a match, probably on Raw or something like that. And he says that I'm going to take everything from you because everything was taken from me. And so they have this, of course, highly stylized wrestling match in which Adam is absolutely obliterating EC3. He's kicking his ass. EC3 shows resilience. Also, EC3's followers are helping. EC3 gets thrown out of the ring. The followers help him back into the ring. And then it tells you, like, EC3 is this godlike figure. The followers are willing to sacrifice themselves. They're willing to help. They will never let you fall. And EC3, of course, physically cannot stand up to Adam Scherr. So he's having a difficult time. So what happens is something very simple happens. EC3 grabs a chair. And he starts bashing Adam with the chair. And Adam's selling it, of course. And then EC3 tells him, like, you didn't take anything from me. You freed me. The disinterest your creator showed me created all of this. The reason the narrative exists is because of your creator's indifference to my existence. and he's bashing Adam with this chair. And the narrator is like, chairs aren't meant to maim, they're meant to punish. And then you have EC3 just bashing him with this chair, and the narrator is like, to kill monsters, you must become one. EC3 tells him that he has no heart, that he has no passion. He just has impeccable size. That's all he is size. He is nothing on the inside. He is nothing. And he is bashing him with this chair again and again. And then he stops. And the camera is on Adam's face, and Adam's crying. He's laying on the ground, just blubbering and crying. And, whispering to himself. And he can't get up. And EC3 again bashes him with the chair again and again. And now Adam's bleeding. And he's crying. And EC3 says, go ahead, bleed. Bleed for all of the horrible things you've done to everybody. You say you're nothing but a victim. You're a victim of what your creator made you. You're just like everybody else. You're just like all of us. You know why it's just happening to you? Because nothing matters. And he bashes him in the head again and again with this chair. And then eventually the followers get in the ring and they're like, EC3, stop. They just grab him. They pull him back to the corner. And there's the scene of Adam in the ring, splayed out, beat the hell up, bloody. And EC3 is in the corner. And the followers are all looking around. And they're like, oh my God, this guy's dead. So the narrator is like, it's difficult to let go of parts of yourself. But you have to forgive yourself and you have to come back stronger. And so Adam finally starts to move and he starts to get up and he says, I deserve this. I created this hell. And he starts to pull himself up to his feet. And he then kind of realizes and he snatches off his hoodie and it becomes like only after destruction can you truly be reborn. And he, of course, becomes something more. And he starts destroying everybody, all of EC3's followers. Then he pummels EC3. And the narrator is like, the Titan is born. More than a monster. A slayer of gods. And all the remaining followers, after, the Titan has destroyed EC3, they're patting him on the back. And they're saying, like, he's finally found a home. He's finally found what he was looking for. And all of these guys sort of just embraced Adam, the Titan. And EC3's in the ring, just finished, beat the hell up, unable to continue. And it was, of course, a story of birth, destruction, rebuilding. It's basic Joseph Campbell storytelling. But it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And when you look at it from the perspective of how many layers, it wasn't just a WWE bad, whatever, everything else good sort of scenario. Because when you look at it, you can look at it as creating something that is one dimensional, but actually showing the passion that Adam has for the business, And it's very, very interesting. And it's very unique and innovative storytelling because you have EC3, who is this cult-like figure, a god. He's the Tyler Durden of this fight club. And he has this sacred space. It's called the narrative. It's basically just a wrestling arena, with a wrestling ring. Again, it's Fight Club. And the narrative is a crucible. It is literally a wrestling ring, but metaphysically, it is a test of whether you really want something. How badly do you really want it? And this is what EC3 means when he says, that you have to, control your narrative. You have to control your own story. So he's giving you the place to control your own story. It's his, but it's yours, right? You go there, you have to make a decision in the match whether this is what you really want. And he put himself in the position with Adam Scherr to be the guy to test Adam personally. And so you have Adam, who is like this monster who's been abandoned by his creator. He's alone. He's in the dumps. He is challenged by EC3 to become more than that. That monster, sure, they have emotions, but he has to rise above being a monster. And he fights EC3, physically stronger, much bigger. But the difference is EC3 is resilient. EC3 has help. There's people who are surrounding him. There's people who are comforting him when he's in danger. People who are cheering for him. And when EC3 comes back stronger with the chair, Adam has no response. Adam is beaten. He's bloody. He's crying. And it wasn't until he allowed that monster to die that he was able to come back as the Titan, something that was even stronger, something that was even more powerful. And you learn a very valuable lesson about, especially when you look at all the other stories of guys who tried and failed. That's why I used the first match, because the first match is very indicative of the last match, where the guy is tested. And he's told, your dream will be given to guys twice your size with half your passion. And then in the main event, you see a guy, Adam Scherr, twice Jake Logan's size, who purportedly has half his passion. But then you find out throughout that story that it's not true for him. That Adam does have passion. That he does want this. That he did deserve to get beaten with a chair. Because, he wasn't really a wrestling fan from the beginning. He was a bodybuilder. So his passion grew as he didn't want to be what his masters created him to be. He wanted to be more than that. But it was up to him to find out what he wanted to be. It was up to him to go through the test, to get beaten, bloody, to be humiliated, and him to come back from that. This is fucking brilliant. It really is. And whoever put it together, I'm not sure who the writers were. It doesn't matter. But maybe these guys wrote their own characters. Who knows? But it's ingenious. It's absolutely ingenious. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, man. It's not a wrestling show, though, because most of the matches are just montages. Sometimes there's continuous action, but a lot of it is cuts. A lot of it is very simple, basic stuff. Not anybody doing anything extra, like any flippity doodahs or nothing like that. The in-ring action serves the single purpose of telling the story. That's it. Nothing extra. That's the singular purpose of what's going on in the ring. And it lasts as long as it needs to last to serve the purpose of the story. The purpose of the story is to entertain. To tell you about the guys in the story, how they relate to each other, and all of that stuff. And it was great. And I had fun with it. Not long after I got the link, the link was deleted. So it was like Mission Impossible. Watch this now or lose it. But it was very short. I suggest if you are actually interested in storytelling in pro wrestling, you should watch this. Again, it's not a lot of actual wrestling, but it's very good. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Props to everybody involved. There's a lot of Ring of Honor guys in it. Vincent, Matt Taven, Dutch. There was Gentleman Jarvis from, I think, United Wrestling Network. He was in here. Of course, EC3, Adam. There were some other guys, 2.0 from AEW. They were in there. They were basically the comedic. It was almost like the two guys from the Muppet Show. They talk about what they see and everything. But there was also a lot of insider stuff. Like when 2.0 was trying to rate the match. It was one of those matches, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we give it 2 thumbs up." And then some neckbeard showed up and says, "That's not how you rate wrestling matches. You rate wrestling matches based on stars. Like there's a star rating." And they just kind of looked at him like, "Get the fuck out of here," So there was a lot of insider stuff in there. A lot of it. It's made for people who know these guys. So it's very exclusive in that way. It's not meant for mass consumption. So it's not like a mainstream thing. And that might be the weakest point of it. But as far as a storytelling vehicle, it's excellent. It's made me think like there's so much more you can do now. And it also made me think, without telling me, how limiting WWE was to Braun Strowman. Because in this thing, they showed you that he can actually act. Like he's not the greatest actor of all time. He's not goddamn Al Pacino. But he can deliver, if you give it to him something simple. His lines were like, I did everything they asked me to do. And it wasn't enough. So it cleared my whole, on this channel, I like to do the David Mamet questions. The what does your character want? What is standing in their way? What happens if they don't get it? And why now? So if you go into this show with that in mind, most of those questions are answered for most of the people on the show. So if let's say you wanted to do it for Adam Scherr's character, what does he want? He wants to find out if the wrestling is his passion or not. What's next for him? What's standing in his way? Well, what's standing in his way is EC3. What's standing in his way is the narrative. He has to go in the ring to find out what is it that he really wants. What happens if he doesn't get it? What happens if he doesn't get it is he's limited to what he was created to be. That means that the people who saw him and saw monster because of his size, those people were right. That's all he is monster. That's all he is his size. Why now? Why now is because he's in an opportunity now where he's at his lowest point. He's been abandoned. He's been kicked out. He's been shunned, and it's either grow and adapt or die. And he has to learn to grow and adapt. And this is what we get. And this is also almost an apology to when Braun Strowman made the comments about indie wrestlers, right? His whole thing where he said, if you can't make money wrestling, then, quit and go do something else. And that made him a pariah amongst, indie wrestlers. But it's almost like an apology for that, because he went through, even though it's highly stylized, he's not really getting hit in the head with chairs. Again, it's like a movie where they do it in a way where it looks like he's getting hit in the head with a chair, but of course he's not actually getting hit in the head with a chair. But it's almost like he's putting himself through this, as an apology to all of the things that he said about independent wrestlers and, how if you can't take care of yourself, you need to move on, Because I saw a lot of people who are saying like, oh, look, now he's been fired. What is he thinking? Whatever. And it's very interesting, because we see that he's willing to adapt. He's willing to grow and adapt and to do more and to put himself through the crucible of showing his passion and showing his, what he desires in this business. And it's genius. Again, basic storytelling, basic Joseph Campbell storytelling, David Mamet with the drama questions. It was masterful. Too bad the link was like Mission Impossible. It was, shortly after I watched it, it was gone. So I mean, to watch it again, in order to get a fuller understanding, I'm going to have to pay for it. But it's worth it, As long as it's under $20, it's worth it. It's a fantastic show. It was fun. It's far better than a lot of the stuff that we get for free on TV, that's for sure. But, if you're a wrestling fan that's into continuous matches and stuff like that, maybe not, you might not be into it. But big up to the fan who sent it to me. I appreciate that. I'm not going to out him because I don't want the FBI chasing the guy down for sharing illegal links and stuff like that. I ain't going to do that. If you were on this show and you listening to this, my bad. I didn't search it out. It was just kind of sent to me. But it was excellent. It was an excellent deal, man. And I think it's on Fight. So if you wanted to watch it, go watch it, man. Have fun with it. I know I did. Thank you guys for your time. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these sleazy